and welcome to Reginald ESQ. I'm Underhook and this is Empyrion Galactic Survival, and today we are building your first capital vessel, CV. I've built a few of the same one here, just slight differences. Basically, I'm going to build this as quickly as possible, so I'm just going to run through a few provisos beforehand and get those done out of the way. Then I'm not going to talk much during the build, I'm just going to build. So, I assume you have a small vessel. You'll need one in case we get into trouble whilst building this. Sometimes the game goes janky and glitches out and you'll need your small vessel to rescue the build. I assume you have visited planets in the starter system in a small vessel and collected resources. On the starter planet in survival mode you won't be able to get enough resources. I am building this in creative mode simply because I don't want to have to gather all these resources just to do it in my own survival mode, but I did build my one in survival mode. And I'm going to do this as if it's survival mode. I'm assuming you're playing PvE, because if you're playing PvP you need a completely different ship. I've put all the components that cause radiation and heat outside of my main ship, so I don't have to worry about it. That's why the strange design. But in PvE you rely on your shields. If shields go down you shouldn't be there anymore. I assume you have a drill and a tier 2 multi-tool. You'll need a multi-tool tier 2. It's too hard building a CV without a tier 2 multi-tool. I assume you can place blocks and craft, so you need you're going to need an advanced crafting machine, whatever you call them. And I'm going to limit this build to a tier 2 CPU thingamajigger. So CPU extenders. This is a tier 2 one. That's going to take us from 200,000 up to 500,000 CPU. The next one is the tier 3, and you need 2 of those, and they're really expensive. They use a lot of gold and other stuff that's really hard to find in the starter system. I don't think you'd be able to make them in the starter system, so I'm not going to use them. So I'm going to limit myself to tier 2 CPU extender, and the build will be done accordingly. However, the build that we're going to do will get you through all of the missions through chapter 10. I've done up chapter 10's as far as they got in the game at the moment, and I can finish chapter 10 just with this design that we're going to use now. You won't need anything more, although you can improve on it as you go. Now I'm going to be floating in the air because I'm in creative mode. You won't be able to float, but you will be able to press F5 on your keyboard by default to get in your drone. And your drone can do everything you can do, so you can just build with your drone. I'm just not going to use the drone because you don't have to look at this annoying stuff in front of your eyes. Instead, I can just float around and do it. Alright, that's all the provisos out of the way. I'm now going to build it. I think this is everything we need right here. So we're just going to get into it and do it now. I'm using steel blocks because, like I said, we're relying on shields, and steel blocks are lighter and cheaper, so that's what we're going to use. So what you want to do is find a piece of ground that is reasonably flat. It doesn't have to be flat, just reasonably flat. Your ship will just, tip over onto the contours or whatever. You just don't want it to tip over completely. So just get something reasonably flat. You can use on your drill. You should have a flattening tool anyway, and you can modify the terrain by drilling a bit and flattening a bit and filling as well. You'll be able to get fairly flat terrain, but get rid of all the trees and stuff, and then you can begin. Now that we have placed our starting block, we are going to press the N key to bring up the build menu. Get off the XY plane and go onto the YZ plane, then hit symmetry plane, and then click on the center line of your blocks and it will give you the symmetry plane. This just means that anything we build on one side of the plane will be duplicated on the other side of the plane. Now I have a basic floor plan I'm following. You can, if you want to follow along with it, I do from the back. I'm going to count 22 blocks up. I'm going to speed up the footage here as well. 22 blocks up, and then I go a total of 11 blocks wide. So I've already got one in the middle, so if I go 5 here, that'll total 11 wide. And I'm going to put another 5 blocks up the center. Then we do, so all up it's 27 blocks wide, but if you just do it this way it's easier. 4 blocks high at this front section. Just doing a frame. So you can see it's reasonably quick. So I want the back to be 8 blocks high, and I've already had one, so I'll put another 7 on. And then from here I'm going 4 blocks out, and then I'm just going from the top up because it's the easiest way to build this anyway. These are terraces for the gun turrets, and each one's 3 blocks, except the first one we did at the back was 4 blocks because we're going to slope the back of the ship, so I have to allow for that. Now I'm going to put the cargo bay door on, which we use to fly our small vessel in and out of the ship. Pretty much everybody does something like this on their capital vessels, so they can have their other ships inside. Just making the front look a little bit less weird. Now one thing, if you're going to land your... here, just don't put this underneath, just put it forward of it. So we're using shields, we're not worrying about armor, so don't worry about how strong it is. We just want to make it so that we're leaving nice cavities inside that I will show you how I make use of a bit later on. Yeah, so your small vessel, you want to have a landing gear on it, and that will allow you to land inside your own ship, and it will attach to the ship. It won't just sort of slide around or whatever. Now we're just knocking out some blocks here to create windows. I find it easier to knock blocks out again rather than leave gaps while I'm building. I'm using armoured windows, but really, if you really want to be protected, you wouldn't have windows at all. If you're going to have an armoured ship, then just use your external view when you're flying and don't have windows would be my advice. All the windows in the game are pretty weak, no matter which ones you choose. But I just like having windows in it. So. If you haven't done windows before, it'll take you a while because you've got the whole box, you know, the inside and outside, and it's kind of hard, but you'll get used to it. So just extending this inside, and I'm just going to show you, I'm going to leave these cavities, so I didn't fill in that cavity, you'll notice. I think I go underneath just to show you. Yeah, so I leave those cavities because I do use them. They're basically a place to put ugly blocks. So we're making the bridge here. And I'm just going to put windows on the back of the bridge. I kind of like that look. You can see into the sort of other ship landing bay. With windows, they're always tinted on one side and clear on the other side. You can change which way they're tinted by using your... we're just putting elevator blocks in now. You can change which way they're tilted by using... I think it's the multi-tool, and you use the sort of circular symbol, and then you left click with the mouse button, and it will change which side is tinted, but always one side's tinted, one side's not. So we're just putting our CPU extender, and now we're putting in our command chair, and I'll show you another one that's more decorated in a minute. So now I put these on the outside. The reason we have 11 blocks, an odd number of blocks wide, is because any block that is 1 block wide, like this one, or 3 blocks wide, like the one we just placed, will be in the center. If you have an even number of blocks wide, you can't place them in the center. If you have things that are 2 blocks wide, then you need to have an even width of your ship to place 2 or 4 block things in the center. In this game, there's a lot of 1 block and 3 blockers, so I always have an uneven width in my ships to account for that. Now I'm just trying to make it look cool, obviously to your taste. So yeah, I just put these high radiation, high temperature items on the outside of the ship. It's the same reason why I have engine blocks, just so I don't have to worry about catching fire or whatever because I'm standing in the wrong place on my ship. I find that really annoying, so I just do this. I also think these external components look cool, but if you want to, you could even just completely encase them, but just have them away from the rest of your ship. Obviously, if you're relying on armor, then this is not a good way of doing it, but I'm relying on my shields, and I'm like I say, if my shields start going down, I just run and come back when they're charged up again. So. And I would, if I was in a big battle, I'd just run a ton of guns as well. But anyway. So now I'm just fueling her up and powering her on, making sure that the thrusters are on and the auto brake is on. Because what we're about to do now is a little bit dangerous. So now that we've done that bit as well, I would definitely now save the game, as you just see me there doing. Before you do this, you must do a backup, because things can go wrong right now. So we're just putting engines on. We've got symmetry plane on, so they're going on the other side of the ship as well. And every direction, up, down, doesn't matter which size engine you're doing. Just doing it as a temporary measure. We're going to take them off again later. And we're now just going to raise the ship up so that we can build it as if we were in a space station, right? It'll just hover there, and we don't have to worry now about having a completely flat bottom ship that looks kind of a bit like it was built on the ground. So the other thing is that well, I used to dig holes and then build the engine struts in holes, but the game doesn't like it. It just flings the ship into the air and it bounces, and that's when you have to go in and well, if you've got the engines on already, it'll go up in the air and it'll stop because the brakes, auto brakes on, it'll just stop when it'll fling it in, stop. But then you need to fly your small vessel up, land inside, which is why I haven't put those blocks in on the side yet. Land inside and bring the ship down yourself manually. So yeah, so to avoid that, one, save the game, and two, we do it this way, building it above ground to stop that from happening. This is the first time I've done it this way, so hopefully it's going to work out okay. I was previously digging holes in the ground. So now I turned the power off, thinking that the front would drop and the back would stay up, but the back actually dropped down, which previously it hasn't done it. The game's like really weird like that. Sometimes it'll do things, sometimes it won't. And now it's doing the bouncing that I said about. So I'm just waiting until it comes down. I'm hitting the P for power. And I'm turning the power on, which means the engine will fire up again and the brakes will come on and they'll hold it in place because we've got engines on it already. Now, if I was in normal survival mode, I'd have to get in my small vessel, fly up, fly in here like this, land here, get out, and then lower the ship down, then fly the vessel out again. Don't leave it in there, fly it out again in case it happens again. So, now that we've done that bit, all of this just so it doesn't look like it was built on the ground. Now we can remove those other engines because we've got the front completed engine blocks. We can take these other ones out. And we're just going to do the same thing on the back. I'm not going to decorate these ones because I've sort of decorated the other engine blocks a little bit, and you can have a look at those. We'll show you those in a minute. Just make sure that your sideways thrusters are as close to the back and as close to the front as you can get them. Like I'm putting it there. I can't put it in front of my rear thruster, but I'm putting it as close to the back as I can. That way you get more leverage with the turning, because we're not using RCS units because they use up too much CPU. I'm counting 2 blocks back, and then I'm deleting 6 blocks in a row here because we're going to put our boarding ramp in. I'm going to make it 2 blocks deep on the sides and the front there because the boarding ramp needs 2 blocks of depth to properly attach. I'm going to extend this little bit here all the way to the back so I can cover up the core as well. It also helps to make the ship look like, you know, it wasn't built on the ground. You can do whatever you want underneath the ship there to decorate it a bit more and make it look... you could even round the whole ship off by adding blocks at this point if you want to. So now I've turned off the symmetry plane because it's annoying sometimes, and we're going to put the boarding ramp in. I've chosen the right click, and I've chosen the, I think it's 6x4x1, so it's actually 4 blocks deep, but 2 of the blocks are internal. Sometimes you can't get it to drop down, but it won't even fit if you don't have at least 2 blocks. If you can't get it to drop down, you can push the page down key, which is next to the end key, and that'll force it to drop down like that, and then just left click and it'll put it in. And then of course you just push the F key when you get in the right spot. You'll be able to just jump up and push F and it'll come down. I leave it 1 block above the ground, so that if I land on top, say there's a rock under the ship, and then I open the cargo ramp, if it glitches into the rock, it can fling the ship into the air. So to avoid that, I leave it 1 block higher and I just jump onto the ramp. I'm just putting a light here, flashing light, just so that it's good at night time when if it's really dark, you can hardly even see a ship. If you've got a flashing light underneath the ramp, at least you know where to run to get on the ship. Especially if you're being chased and you're nearly dead or something. And now we're putting the storage in. These are just standard container controllers. They're not like ore ones or anything like that. And I'm just filling in all this area with blocks. The maximum number of extensions you could put on, I think, is 39 or 40. Anyway, 320,000 SU is the maximum that it will take, and that's about, I think it's the container controller plus 39. So I'm not using that full amount. I think we end up with about 288,000 on each side with what we're doing here. Anyway, it fills in this ugly area and gives us a good place to access our containers. And yeah, I think it says 288 there. And I just colour them just so they're different. I don't know why, I just like doing it this way. It helps me remember it. And I'm going to put the wireless in with the containers because I took time to remember to do it. And I'm going to put the ammo container in here as well. This container isn't huge, but it holds a lot of ammo and will feed all the turrets automatically. Then I'm putting in the detector, which you obviously have to have on the ship so that you can detect enemies and POIs and stuff. The rest of this stuff I think we'll probably place later. I'll put the turrets on now just so you can see the placement. They're 3 blocks wide, and I put them 1 block in from the side so that I'm going to slope the sides. And also on the back I put it 1 block away from the back because I'm going to slope the back off later as well. Now I forgot to show you I was placing these, but if we right click, and I will show you in a sec, we right click when we're placing them, it'll give us a choice between a cannon and a minigun. The minigun takes, I'm going to place a minigun now. Minigun takes 15mm ammunition, which you can use with your basic constructor or your first constructor. The cannons take 30mm ammo, which you need the advanced constructor to make, so just bear that in mind. If you've got an advanced constructor, make a heap of 30mm ammo if you haven't got one on your ship before you fly off. Now just putting the shields on just to show how cool it kind of looks at the back with this stuff external. I kind of like it, everything lights up and everything's spinning and all that. I think it's a good way to use them. The other thing I just want to show you here was that when you have the shields on, you actually, because I went here to fill this part in now, and it wasn't working. I think what's happening, it happens to me all the time, even though I know, and then suddenly it dawns on me, oh yeah, that's right. You can't place any blocks or modify your ship at all while the shields are on. You've got to turn them off. So if you haven't been doing this much, it will happen to you at some stage where you go, how come I can't build? And then hopefully you remember you've got your shields on. So now we're going to a different ship I built. Here's one I prepared earlier that I've done a bit of sculpting on the engine blocks. And this one also has landing gear. You only need landing gear if you want to do auto repairs. So if you have a base that has a repair bay, and you need a repair console as well, you can land over that repair bay and it will tell it, you put materials in and it'll repair your ship. But it's your actual ship can't be touching the blocks that the thing is on, so you have to have landing gear or hover over it, I think. So this is just showing you how I set it up. Yeah, just putting your normal items that you need to place in this ship. I've got like a medical bay and I've got like a living area, and this is what I use those cavities for. So these silly toilet blocks that have no roof and no door, you can put them up in these little cavities, and they're out of the way because they're pretty horrible looking blocks. And you can still keep it looking cool, but it's still there in case you need to use the shower to deradiate yourself or whatever it is. And just showing a bit of decoration here on the bridge. You can obviously do more if you want to, but it's just a basic, give you a few ideas. This one's got different windows to the other one. And yeah, that's about it. Just showing you here that we've used up about 350 something thousand of 500,000 CPU available. RCS units use up 75,000 each, and one of them makes no difference to the turn rate. So you need at least 2 or 3. So really, I think wait till you've got more CPU before you put them in and just use the engines for now. I hope you enjoyed that. Good luck with your build.